Welcome to episode 151 of the Eclectic Gamers Podcast. Today is Sunday, October 3rd. I'm Tony.
I'm Dennis. We have a mix.
We have stuff.
We got video game stuff. We got pinball stuff. We got fan stuff.
We got my fans never run this hard before.
This is so exciting because it's usually my fan.
Yeah.
That is tearing a hole in the space-time continuum.
It's just my laptop is just doing all sorts of crazy stuff today and being problematic.
But
I'm going to blame my children.
Yes,
that's what I get for having on the laptop and allowing them to use it.
Yep, they could have just had their own tablets, but nope. They wanted the full keyboard. They wanted the full experience. So. But speaking of tearing holes in space time, what's been going on the last couple of weeks, Tony? Watch any documentaries?
I've watched several documentaries.
Oh,
I watched the new Lula Rich documentary.
That was what I was watching just before we started because you recommended it.
It's good, isn't it?
There's so many holes and so many leggings out there. I never knew much about leggings. I still probably don't, but
right.
But I know that there's big drama in stretch pants.
There's drama in stretch pants. Yeah, some of the things are just crazy to me. So we'll see. I killed the fan.
Oh, you need HP Cool Sense. It's the only way. It's the only way to keep the fan.
The only way to keep it running. But yeah, no. I mean, it's been hectic. It's been. I think hectic's the right word for it. It's been a very hectic 2 weeks. I've just been busy. I've barely played anything of any type, video games or anything. By the time I've been getting home, I've been so tired. I just sat out on the couch for a little while and watched some shows or some documentaries. Or I watched all of Squid Game because that's the #1 show in like 90 countries now. It was good. I enjoyed it. That's it. I've played that. That's it. I haven't won big fancy rewards like you have.
Oh, well, I mean, we could talk a bit about the pinball tournament because in over a year, finally got back to 403 Club.
I did. I got back to 403
People
Club.
who have harangued you about not being at 403 Club were not at 403
No,
Club.
they weren't.
The irony was palpable within the 403 Club.
Yeah, we could feel it. It was everywhere.
So we did that, which it went long. That's how it felt long to me. We had 16 people, so they made the decision to do a 4-strike, which normally I would say I completely understand that decision.
Yeah,
we've done at Pizza West gone 4-strike with about that player count, and it seems to go along pretty well. But there were just some really long games. And for those of you who don't play competitively or haven't played in a strike tournament, you can't move on to the next round until all games are done in the current round. So you're really beholden to how that prior round went. So case in point, there was one time, I don't know what game you were playing. I was on Led Zeppelin, and we had almost finished our Led Zeppelin game when player 1 finished their ball 1 of Batman 66. Now, it was Sunshine, and she is a great player, so
very valid.
I do want to say the quality of the player really does make a difference for that sort of scenario, but I mean, it was pretty apparent that Batman 66, Guns N' Roses, and there was one other, might have been, I was going to say, it might have been Avengers, were kind of long playing.
Yeah. When that one happened, I was on Hot Wheels, and we were done.
So, anyway, the grand prize was this cool cooler, which I thought would have been great for our expo trip.
It would be great. Would have been. I mean, but I've got a bunch of coolers anyway.
But I could not get first. I never get first at 403. I never get second. You finished. What's the highest you finished at 403? Was it third?
I think I got fourth once.
I never have in a monthly gotten that high. I think I got fourth in the Ghostbusters launch. It's probably the best I've ever done at the club. However, there was a bit of a funny story, odd story, I guess I would say. And it's pinball related, so I'll tell it. Incidentally, just in terms of what I've done besides working and watching TV shows, is I did finish Sherlock Holmes Crimes and Punishment video game. So I did wrap that up because I said I thought I would by this episode, and I did. So, okay. Very first round of the tournament. There's a group of players, including myself, who are on The Walking Dead. So
right, they're the dead. They
right,
walk.
The club has a pro version of The Walking Dead right now. It's like really modded. It's got a lot of because I was showing the fish tank mod because I've been thinking about getting that one if it's available at Expo, for example, or something. Hence, mod suppliers. I might be looking. So anyway, one of the other players though would I'd say nudge the machine aggressively, and the topper, which had been secured up top with Velcro, had come loose, and it fell. It fell off of the top. Did not land on the player, but it did land on the play field, and tore the plug disconnected and all that. And it was like, okay, so that was unfortunate. The guy who had shaken the machine was just like, we had just gotten done announcing like, there was going to be a drawing for one of the prizes, and then the cooler going to whoever won the tournament. And so he made a joke about the topper now being a prize. So fast forward 3 hours later, whatever. I'm still in. I ended up getting 7th. I sure felt like I survived quite a while for only 7th, but it was. I lasted a ways. There was a lot of really even strike distribution. So anyway, we're going along, and at one point, the bar owner, the guy Artie, who owns the 403 Club, we were talking about one of the games, and I looked over and I said, they'd already announced who had won one of the other prizes, which was just a random draw.
Yeah.
Because someone said, I didn't hear who had done it, and Artie goes, well, it was a silent auction. And so I just said, oh, so did I win the silent auction for the Walking Dead topper? And a few minutes later, he said, do you want the topper? It's yours if you want it. And I'm like, what? And so what had happened is Artie doesn't own the games at the 403 Club. And that Walking Dead is owned by JoJo Styles, who I've spoken to a few times. JoJo actually bought my Jacks to Open back in 2020. He had someone else, because I think he's up in Nebraska, but he had someone else come and pick it up. But I remember, he bought it really quick after I listed it. And so, yeah, Artie went and opened up the game and got the cord out that the topper plugs into, and then got the power splitter board that was also plugged into to supply that particular voltage to the topper. I'm not sure who makes this. I haven't looked up who made this topper. It's like one of those laser etched topper styles. Yeah. And there's a bit of a scratch on the upper right, where I'm guessing is where it impacted from where it fell. But that's just how it works. So am I, Zach Mini, notorious Zach Mini, has self-proclaimed as the topper king. Has self-proclaimed as the topper king. But let me ask you, Tony, just in your neutral judgment, has he been dethroned? Am I now the topper king? If for no other reason than how I secured, basically via coup d'etat, a topper. Because you see, this is how I get them. I don't buy $2,000 gold foil toppers. I get scratched, falling off machine toppers as rando prizes in pinball tournaments.
That's how you do it.
That's how you should do it. I sure wish I could have won that cooler, though.
You're the king of the dead, apparently.
So I'm not. It's sitting here. We're in my kitchen. It's on the counter. I've cleaned it, and I thought maybe after the Chiefs game today, I will try and install it. I'm not. Their only advice was don't secure it with Velcro.
Yeah.
I need to look at the top of the game to see what options I might have. Because super glue. I might still have double-sided tape from some projects my dad and I worked on, so like heavy-duty double-sided
the good
tape
stuff
that we've used for
the 3M stuff, where they're like, hey, this is what
stuff,
we use to hold solar panels on top of RVs.
Yeah, we have some stuff. Or if I don't, he probably still has a roll. So anyway, I'm thinking that because.
And I looked, you were right. I did get third place at 403 one time.
I remember that one because I went like 2 and out or 2 and 1 or something, and it was a long way.
Yeah, yeah, and to be 100% honest,
Gotta give it 110%.
it was the same weekend as Pinburg, so almost everybody was at Pinburg.
You know what? You know what? It doesn't matter. Some may have said I could have been eliminated sooner had Mandalorian's upper playfield ball lock mechanism not been failing on all 3 of us who were playing. But, you know, sometimes you get beneficial malfunctions. Sometimes you get bad official malfunctions.
Badong malfunction.
Badong, yes. Badong malfunctions. Before we formally move into the pinball segment, I thought now that you have, because that was your first time to play several of those games. In fact, I think that was your first time to play Hot Wheels, Led Zeppelin, Mandalorian, Guns N' Roses, and Avengers.
Yes.
Right? All 5. So you want to give your 5 sorry, Nate Shivers. Of course, there's 5 fast thoughts. I'll phrase it a little differently. Fast thoughts? ?
Avengers was the most fun of them. Guns N' Roses is beautiful with a beautiful light show and wasn't very fun to play. Led Zeppelin was even less fun to play.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Not by a lot, but the light show and everything makes up a little bit. They're pretty close to being basically about the same on my funometer. Hot Wheels was just wow. I've played worse games. We'll leave it there. And Avengers, Mandalorian was fun. It was all right. I was gonna say if I was gonna rank them, I would have gone Avengers, Mando, GNR, and Led or Zeppelin are pretty much right next to each other, and then way behind was Hot Wheels.
Okay. Yeah, I guess I hadn't thought about ranking them myself.
But I said that I've only put like 2 or 3 games on all of them.
Sure. I don't have
so that's
ton of
very
games on.
willing to change.
At this point, I would say I would probably rank them Avengers and Mandalorian. I think for me, far and away, those are both the most fun. Third for me would be Hot Wheels, then Led Zeppelin, and Guns N' Roses last. I did get some more time on. It's just because for me, the big difference is I think the rules. I've never gotten that deep in Guns N' Roses. I know, let me phrase this. I know the rules are there. I know it's got a rule set, and I understand Guns N' Roses rule set, and I don't like it. But the geometry of Lead is good. But I mean, and we have a pro on location. Oh, it is so empty. I don't. I think I don't care, but for whatever reason with that game, I care. I think its emptiness coupled with that third flipper shot not actually going to a ramp, it stinks. Yeah. It feels like it could have been when you know Richie's done that layout before, basically, and you're like, Star Trek pulled this off so much better. Spider-Man pulled it off so much better. It's just, I don't know. Anyway,
it was definitely. There was something about it that was very...
And I finally got some stuff going on Avengers. That was my big thing with Avengers. Is in the past, I'm like, this shoots good, but I don't know what I'm doing. And I started to pay attention to how more people were playing it, and I got a better feel for it.
And that could be part of what has kind of shifted my stuff is Avengers was the game where I sat down and I immediately successfully got a bunch of stuff going.
Mm-hmm. And that helped. It does help when you're like, oh, look. I mean, that was my first time experience with Hot Wheels is I won a tournament game on it by a lot. And I was like, yeah.
See, because when I sit down with Hot Wheels, everyone was like, well, you need RPM. I'm like, okay, I need RPM. And then I sat down and I was player 1. I'm like, it's like, okay, that was all right. I mean, I don't feel too bad. And then at the end of ball 1, the next player with the closest score to my own was 6 times higher than me. And I'm like, oh, crap. I screwed something up. And then it was me trying to make stuff work. And I figured some stuff out. I got some stuff working. But it's still at the same time where you're sitting there going, Well, if I score 300 million points on ball 3, I might be able to not take a strike. Maybe. Oh, wait, no, look who I'm playing against. If I score 400 million points on ball 3, I might be able to take third place.
Which wouldn't have been much help.
No.
Well, we're kind of already introing into pinball, so we'll go ahead and formally transition into it. I do have a few topics. We do actually have a game reveal. I did not anticipate us having one to talk about. I don't think anyone anticipated this one being the one that would end up this week. But so Pinball Brothers has revealed Queen Pinball, sorta. So sorta. So there's a Queen pop-up store that appeared in London. And originally I was going to link to that article, but the article's about the store. Since then, I've seen that there is a news article at Pinball News about the reveal. So one can go there, click on, they can follow the link that we've included and be able to load up the information on this machine. Now, this was not a playable game. And again, it doesn't seem like Pinball Brothers, I'm guessing here, but it does not seem like Pinball Brothers meant for this to be a reveal to the pinball community. But I mean, clearly they agreed to allow this prototype to show up in this pop-up store. And this pop-up store is called Queen the Greatest. And it's got a lot of memorabilia and stuff, merch for sale regarding the band Queen. And so in terms of what it looks like, and I've been trying to follow the thread a bit, and there's some images over, Tony, if you haven't seen yet. I dropped in for us internally a little video clip that showed very, very, very little amount of the pinball machine, and then Pinball News has some much better photos available. But I mean, I would describe it as a almost fan-ish style approach, at least initially. You've got a lot of laid out shots. However, I mean, it's not a fan layout. Well, let me clarify that. So because there is an upper play field with a single flipper in the upper right corner, they do have, we'll call them Scolari drops that appear to be blocking the rightmost shot, the center right. There's a dead center ramp, and there's a shot to the right of that ramp and a shot to the left of that ramp. The one on the left has some sort of like kick out hole or something. Those are all guarded by these drop targets that you would think of like Scolari Brothers style, or maybe if people are familiar with Cactus Canyon, kind of like Cactus Canyon style. And then I believe, based off of the original designer, that the drop targets on the left that look like the keyboard keys of the piano, like if you drop those white drop targets down, I believe there's supposed to be stand-ups behind those that are like the black keys. So the designer who worked on Queen, because Queen was a highway pinball license for those that don't know. And so that's one of the assets that Pinball Brothers had in the wake of everything that happened with highway pinball. The designer who had been working on it is active on Pinside. And so he's weighed in that a lot of this is the same as what he last worked on, though this game is not a wide body, and highway pinball was all wide bodies. So they did make changes to accommodate that and some other stuff. And I would say initially, because obviously the game's not playable, some people like the look of the layout. I can't say that it's been overwhelmingly supported. The main thing is people have been dogging the art big time. Big time. I think, I mean, this is probably grossly unfair, but I like the translate in particular is hated. And I would say, I think everyone is wishing that Zombie Yeti would just come in and Marvel method this. Like he, I'm sorry, Jeremy. I was going to say, like he does everything else. I mean, to be fair, it's kind of already there. I mean, there's tons of orange and yellow going on. It's kind of what he does, but
the headshots.
Yeah, that's the thing is people.
Oh man, the headshots are so bad.
The people will wish that. Now there was a picture of someone else who had done draft Queen art that was rejected, and it was caricature style in a way that I personally would have described as creepy, and I actually think this is superior to going that route, but maybe I'm wrong. I don't know, but this definitely is going to be, in my view, reminiscent of the Photoshop era that people do not like.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's really all there is. I mean, we don't have any rules or anything to discuss. It sounded to me from what I've read that this game, in terms of, I guess, pinball ready announcement, is at least 6 months out. But what are your thoughts? I mean, my initial thought would be like the theme. This is a smart one to do for a band theme. Like Queen is beloved. It's old enough that it falls into dad rock, but it's different than a lot of the other bands were that have been done at the same time. So, but like looking at this art, I'm just like, now, I mean, it's not a good first impression.
No, it's not. And like most games, until we actually see it played, who knows what it'll actually end up being. I just want to go on record that the pedigree does not give me confidence in what it will be because, Pinball Brothers' entire startup and existence is one of those things that is shaky enough as is.
Yeah, I felt that the highway designer was a little, and I get it, a little defensive about some of these concepts predate Guns N' Roses coming out. So, some people might look at some things like the guitar upper playfield with a single flipper and be like, well, you've stolen that idea from Guns N' Roses. Obviously he didn't. So right. I understand, I understand why you wouldn't want to have people think that this was just a clone of something that just recently came out or something. But, until I understand what the rules are and how it's going to play, it's difficult to know. I personally don't think the layout looks bad.
The shooter lane has artwork. Interesting.
Now, I'm not a huge fan of these plunge across the playfield shooters, and that almost entirely comes down to being burned way too many times on Stern Star Wars. So, and I've played plenty where that doesn't happen. So. Like Led Zeppelin, it has a plunge across that I haven't had major issues with. I guess I did have one ball go out yesterday because of that, but I still have ball save, so it's okay. According to the Pinball News article, there are 3 stand-ups behind the 4 piano drop targets. It's got spinners. It's got, now, one of the things that you can see in some of the, I don't know about this, the inserts, and then there's art that's centered on the inserts, but it doesn't stay just on the inserts. Like there's a shot of the left orbit entrance that Pinball News has, and you can see a square insert where a symbol extends well beyond the borders of that insert, and the lion with the crown, and part of the crown's on the insert, and part of the crown's not, and part of the lion's mane's in the insert, and part of it's not. And the reason I note that is there's been so much backlash to the way the text on the inserts, or at least one insert in Halloween is, and people have been up in arms about that. I just don't think that they're going to like the idea of this not just containing the art onto the insert itself, and the insert serves as the borders of those particular images. Minor, in my view, but some people, it's a big deal. I mean, they've got other parts where you can see in that same image, like behind the stand-up, the drop target that's protecting that hole, that it's like they're just inserts and they just overlaid art on top of it where they just kind of glow as a backlight. I think it's weird. I don't think most people are going to like it, but I mean, whatever. So I don't have anything else to say. We'll find out more later. I don't have a good feel on Pinball Brothers. They're turning out aliens. They've got their LV limited version because they couldn't do LE.
Of course.
And so that was something I put it in our show notes to talk about because it's just, it's got a few other things. It's got a cool back glass, but other than that, I wasn't really all that impressed, especially at the price point. But, I guess they're pushing those out. But again, that was a game that people knew from Highway. They've made modifications to it to be more reliable.
Yeah, and I think it needed that.
Mm.
But
some people are annoyed because some of the stuff that came out of it was some of the cool stuff. It's sort of like, it reminds me in a way of Jersey Jack Pinball and Pirates, and how some people, love Pirates, but there were a lot of people that decided they weren't going to get the game once it wasn't going to have triple spinning disc because that was the cool innovation. Aside from the rocking ship, which of course stayed. But anyway. Second topic is actually Jersey Jack, but not about pirates. We actually, in our Eclectic Gamers podcast at gmail.com, got a press release notification from Scorebit. Scorebit is it's actually a third-party tool application that can record and upload scores and stuff. But Jersey Jack is partnered with them in a way. They fully embraced embedding Scorebit into their systems when they leave the factory. So it was the announcement that achievements are available for Jersey Jack games, starting with Willy Wonka, which was immediate. So I think the big discussion was, so does Jersey Jack, are they the first company to have achievements in a pinball machine? ? Because the Godzillas hadn't shipped yet.
I have an answer.
What's your answer?
Who cares?
That's kind of my, I have to admit, to me, it felt a little bit like, we got to get this out because Godzilla has it out.
Yeah.
I'm almost positive. It's hard. The timing could not, in a way, either be better or worse. I agree. Who really cares? If you want my interpretive, we want me to take a position, my interpretation answer would be, no, Godzilla was first because they live streamed it and the players were earning the achievement. So the achievement system was clearly online. That you don't happen to have it in the operator's locations yet. In a way, it was kind of moot because the system is actually publicly live.
Right.
So that would be my take. I just thought it was kind of interesting that it was just Wonka. That's what read to me like, oh, you really rushed to get this.
Well, yeah, and I'm surprised that if they rushed and could only get one out, that the one they got out was Wonka.
And not Guns N' Roses?
And not GNR.
Yeah, that was the other thing. I mean, I could kind of see going further back where Scorebits probably weren't there. And Jersey Jack has announced that they are building more Wonkas, even though they're not done building the GNRs, which I'd go, huh? Except Stern does this all the time. Let's announce a new game. We still can't it's like, we can't make Mandalorians fast enough. Let's launch Godzilla. They're not going to make Godzilla fast enough by the time that, John Borg's game is announced, which, is said to be, I guess, I don't know. Some people are really like hung up on waiting to hear rumors on shows. So if you hadn't heard yet, the rumor is it's Borg next. The rumor is it's in December, and the rumor is it's Rush, the band. So there you go. There's your rumor. Do you feel better as people now? Because to me, it's meaningless. It's practically meaningless. Though I do like Rush.
Yeah.
Tom Sawyer. That's the only thing I can quote from Rush. There are like 2 songs I listen to with Rush, and I don't have either of them in my MP3 player. So
it's not a bad choice of a band for.
Yeah, it's been. It's been in demand.
I'm so tired
of band themes, band pins,
of band pins, and all the band pins being the same thing.
What do you want him to be? What do you mean? I mean, like, do you tired of the same thing being just like you pick a song and you play?
Well, no, not that. No, I mean, I'm just it's we're still. Can we segue from Dad Rock?
Oh,
don't get me wrong.
I get it. Okay.
A quarter to a third of my playlist on my MP3 playlist is Dad Rock. But really, can we get something from, the 90s? Maybe? Can we get something that's not...
Green Day could be any day, Tony. I don't know.
Get something where they didn't kick out their greatest hits album, within 5 years of me being born.
Maybe someday. No, that's a fair point. And it's one many pinball enthusiasts have raised. But the Dad Rocks are guaranteed sales. So, though, I've heard Led Zeppelin did not sell that good for Stern. So maybe that, no, I don't think it's the band.
No.
And especially after looking, oh my gosh, I'm sorry. Those pros do not make you want to own that game.
They don't at all.
And maybe the premium, one of our other players was talking to Gordon. And it sounds like he's played a premium and he really with a spinner that lifts out. And I'm like, yeah, that's like Ironmonger coming out of the playfield. Difference was the Ironmonger was on all the versions.
Right.
And here we are with a warp ramp that isn't a ramp. I'm sorry. I don't care how good the rules are. It's just like, it's so empty.
Yeah, it is definitely not.
I mean, you can do a lot with basic pinball features if you want to go like full, like Beatles style and do single level and do some creative stuff, but don't just like this sort of standard Richie. Anyway, I'm whining. So let's move on to the third and final pinball topic, which is not something to whine about. So a little more information on Chicago Gaming Company's Cactus Canyon remake. And I'll have a link to the International Flipper Pinball Association's website announcement of this, but for those that want to read more. But Lyman, Sheats, and Josh Sharpe are partnering with CGC in order to make the enhanced software for the Cactus Canyon remake. Mm-hmm. Now, I had heard, and I believe we had discussed it before. I know I've talked about it before, that Lyman Sheats, I've been hearing for months that he was contracted with CGC. See, some people, I guess, got a little confused because CGC denied that Lyman Sheats worked for them. Well, no, he's not an employee at CGC, but I had heard that he was contracted with CGC to finish the software up. I had never heard that Josh Sharpe was as well. But there was another rumor. I'll just keep throwing out rumors.
It's rumor
There's
time.
another rumor.
Rumor time.
Well, and this one, it's not because it's not pinball oriented, but people love Lyman. The rumor has been Lyman was hired by Raw Thrills, which is where Josh Sharpe works. This would lend credence that might be the case.
Right.
But Raw Thrills doesn't make pinball machines, so I don't really care. I don't really care if he's there or not. Good for them. I've been hearing that Raw Thrills has been interested in trying to penetrate the home market with their arcade games. Yes, Tony. I know that would be what you were thinking, but we will name nothing. And so it's like Project FB. We're not going back. We're not going back into it. And so, Lyman doing deep rule sets for arcade games might make them more viable in the home industry. I don't know. Anyway, does this make you more excited for the Cactus Canyon remake?
No,
it doesn't for me either. Here's the thing. You can't fundamentally, in my mind, and I may be wrong, but in my mind, you can't fundamentally get away from what the original Cactus Canyon is. So you have to have all the same rules up to its incomplete point.
Right.
So other than finishing, it's like, is this game going to be deep? It should be 90s deep. It shouldn't be it shouldn't be like Lyman on Batman 66. So while I think it may be with them well-balanced, fun, and competitively viable, which is something that perhaps the original version is not. I don't know. There's nothing else to be excited about on it, unless you love this game and its theme. And I think if Cactus Canyon I think Cactus Canyon is a C-tier game. If it had been finished, maybe it would have been a B-tier game. Other people really love the layout. I think the layout's fun.
It is.
So I think it could live with like a Shadow or a Bram Stoker's Dracula, but I don't think it's an Attack from Mars or a Medieval Madness style game.
I agree with you.
So,
yeah, it's one of those things that, I mean, it's okay. I can see why it's the game they picked for next, but it's not. It's not going to be all. Ooh.
Its biggest weakness is they made less than 1,000 of them, so people don't know it, and that's where this is smart. Having Lyman and Josh working on it may drive more people to buy it that otherwise wouldn't consider it.
True.
So in that regard, I think CGC has done a good idea. I think this is smarter than doing Cactus Canyon Remake. I know some people love the Cactus Canyon Remake.
Right.
I've not played the remake, but just the name pedigree is where the power is. It's not actually about the quality.
As long as, in my mind,
rules.
They keep it at that 90s deep, and they don't try to pull The Hobbit on it.
Yeah, I just don't think they would. I think, again, their license probably would let them, but
yeah,
I mean, we need to bear in mind that the next game from okay, another rumor, if you hadn't heard this, the next game from CGC is not a remake; it's an original, and it's not Ben Heck's original either. So, given that, That's where I expect them to flex on depth of code. And maybe they're contracting with, maybe the plan is, if this goes well, to ask Lyman and Josh to do that rule set. Because it would not surprise me if that rule set isn't even started yet.
Right.
I mean, look how long this took to get out. Look how long Monster Bash took. And that wasn't new code. Wait, for their, they had to put it on their system, but it's not, they didn't have to make new rules.
Right.
Anyway. That's it that I have for pinball, Tony. So, video games.
Video games.
Oh, I guess
you get to start with video games.
All right, so we had, actually this was a request. So Jason Knapp, a host of Knapp Arcade on Facebook, and he has a website now. He wanted to know if we would share any thoughts about Cruise and Blast for the Nintendo Switch. And I do have a link in the show notes to his review that he has on his website for those that want to read a review of someone who's actually played it. Have you played this Nintendo Switch game? Because I don't have a Switch.
No.
Okay. I have not either. I'm familiar with that Cruise and Blast was a series of arcade games, and I've probably played them, but here's the thing. All the driving games in the arcades blend to me. I've never had a favorite. I've never been able to tell them apart. I remember a bunch of sit-down ones where I would go, and I inevitably get like 8th place, and it asked me to put in more money. I'd be like, no, I'm going to go play Sinistar and get scared. So I don't really know Cruise and Blast. However, I've seen a few other people on some of the Discords, I believe, that I'm on. I think that's where I saw it, that have been enjoying it quite a bit. So I guess if you're familiar with the arcade stuff, you might want to check this out or read up on it a little bit and see if it's because obviously buying a Nintendo Switch game is a lot easier than hauling around one of the cruising cabinets. So
yeah, no, that's true.
So anyway, but FYI, it's out there and it's getting some buzz from fans of the series, but I can't really comment. You have some other Nintendo news.
I have some other Nintendo news because they had a Direct that I watched. I actually watched the Direct.
Why do you watch the Directs when you don't have a Switch?
Because I'm going to be 100% honest. Here's what it is.
Yeah, you could be 110%. We're shooting for 110%.
Got home from work and I sat down and I fired up the YouTubes and I started watching my subscribed guys that put stuff out that day.
Mm-hmm.
And then the wife and kids are like, there's a Nintendo Direct. Do you want to come watch it with us? And I'm all like, we'd really like you to come watch the Nintendo Direct with us. And I'm like, okay, it's family time. So I went in and sat down and ate my dinner and watched a Nintendo Direct with the family.
Aw. So what did you learn during family time? I
learned that there are some game production people out there that my daughter really loves because she was like flipping out, super excited for games. So, but I'm not talking about any of those games. So,
yeah, this big
and they were very angry because the grand total of the Animal Crossing announcement was that there's going to be an Animal Crossing Direct in October.
Well, that's now. It could be any day.
It could be any day. I think personally, probably the biggest thing that came out was the fact that there's an animated Mario movie being made. And for some reason, somebody, somewhere, decided that Chris Pratt is who you needed to pick to voice Mario.
Have you seen the image where it's the shot from him in Jurassic World, but instead of raptors, they're Yoshis?
Yes, yeah. I mean, the only thing I can figure out is that the necromancer they brought to try and res Bob Hoskins failed. So they decided to go with one of the big fancy popular people right now. I have such a hard time seeing Chris Pratt in that role. Okay. Okay. We'll see. I'll give it a try. We'll let it see. And then the other big ones, they've got Anna Taylor-Joy as Peach. I don't think I've ever seen her in anything. I looked her up. I've never watched any of the stuff she's in, so I can't tell you. Charlie Day as Luigi. Man, John Leguizamo is still acting.
Yeah.
There is no reason. I'm sure he would love the role.
This is a direct slight. Unless he was offered it and turned it down.
Yeah. But it's his iconic role.
I know, but hey.
They've got Jack Black playing Bowser, you know what? I'm fine. Nacho can be Bowser. I'm perfectly fine with Nacho being Bowser. It's cool.
He's going to do a School of Rock character is what it's going to be.
No,
Bowser's going to sing a song.
No. Jack Black is going to play Jack Black. Every character Jack Black has ever played was Jack Black. The question is just, how many antidepressants was he on at the time he played the role?
No.
Jack Black in Enemy of the State was very serious. Jack Black in everything after people actually recognized his name wasn't. So, they've got Keegan-Michael Key as Toad. I kind of want to hear his Toad voice, but then I just want to, if he's got a good Toad voice.
Maybe it's his regular voice.
I hope it's not his regular voice. I hope he goes for the squeakier Toad voice.
I'm the best.
And then,
yeah.
And then I can't wait for people to morph some of the old Key and Peele sketches using that voice.
Yeah.
And then I was like, what else did I?
Seth.
Oh yeah, Seth Rogen as Donkey Kong. Okay,
So Stoner Kong.
Okay,
Because that's his one thing.
Fine. I mean, here's the thing. At this point, I'm interested in this movie as a train wreck that will bring the live-action Super Mario Brothers to still being the best Super Mario Brothers
That would
movie.
be awesome. I have to admit, I am kind of wanting this to crash and burn.
I feel bad.
I feel bad because I think everyone's like, Nintendo is so gun shy about doing entertainment. You know, they don't like. There's no Nintendo pinballs ever since the Super Mario Brothers,
Right?
And kind of that Gottlieb Street Fighter era for video game stuff in general. And I think some gamers are kind of like, yeah, maybe this would kickstart. Yeah, they want. Obviously, we're in the video game segment, so their thing is like, why isn't there more like movies and stuff using these video game properties? We used to see that stuff all the time when we were kids, but maybe not.
Here's the thing.
Most video game, we still see video game movies. People just don't remember because they're so bad, like the
They're
Warcraft
terrible.
movie, which
Right.
I didn't see because I heard it was bad.
Blood Rain.
Right, I own that one because it's so cringe and fun. It's so cringe and fun. And I see Ben Kingsley there trying to be this vampire, and I'm like, you were in Gandhi, man. What happened to you? What happened to you? You were Gandhi, and this is what you've become. Go back to being the Mandarin.
Wasn't that the one where it was cheaper to just hire a bunch of hookers
Yes.
than to hire?
They were filming in, I don't remember if it was in Romania or Poland or somewhere. I think it was in Eastern Europe. And the Uwe Boll was the director of that film. And he indicated to hire extras for his brothel scene. He found that it was just cheaper to hire local prostitutes to play. And people were so critical of him. And he's like, well, they got money. So I think it was good. I'm like, yeah, well, so did Billy Zane. He got money too.
See,
Billy Zane. You were the Phantom, man. What happened to you? What happened to you, Billy Zane?
the thing of all the major Nintendo, tentpole franchises, I understand. Mario's the big, huge one. But seriously, for the ones that would make the best translation to movies, why in the crap have you not gone with Zelda or Metroid?
And that's where I mean, looking at this, and I would agree, I think Metroid could make, you could do like it's Nintendo, so they never would. But you could do like a live action Metroid and do it almost like alien sci-fi horror style. It could make a really good film. And in terms of like animated movies, I do agree. Zelda seems to make a lot more sense because of the plots that you could, if you wanted to take from a game, for example, they've got like a storyline that isn't Save the Princess.
Yeah.
Save the Princess. So, to me though, you look at this and it's like, okay, no, Nintendo's like playing it safe. We're using our biggest of all the tent poles and we're going to Hollywood this big time. We're not doing anime voice actors. We're bringing in big A-list actor guns, Princess Mononoke style. and we're going to just say, you have to see this because if you don't like Mario, you like Jack Black. And if you don't like Jack Black, then you like Chris Pratt. And you're going to hope that he's going to have a raccoon on his shoulder as Mario and a raptor named Yoshi.
Mario in the Tanuki suit, so he looks like a raccoon.
Yeah, yes. And he could call himself Rocket Tanuki. I'm excited.
It's going to be interesting. It's a long way out. They're talking like holiday 22.
Okay.
So, the next big announcement to me, the one that actually interested me, Bayonetta 3.
Beloved game.
Yes. Announced like 4 years ago, I think. It was like in 17 it was announced. The Bayonetta 1 and Bayonetta 2 were two of the first games I got for my Switch when I had a Switch before the Switch was claimed by others. I've always enjoyed the Bayonetta games. They've been a lot of fun. So I might even try to get it. No, I'm not. When I brought up that I might borrow the Switch back to play a game, and the first thing was, oh, we might need a new Switch anyway. It's like, no, it's fine.
You could get that new fancy version that has 4K. Oh, wait.
No. Yeah.
The Switch Pro. Oh, poor Switch Pro.
Everybody wants it so bad.
Poor Switch. What happened to you, Switch Pro? You were on Reddit. You had it made. What happened to you, Switch Pro?
Here's the thing. The fact that Bloomberg put out a new article saying that all these companies had 4K development kits for the Switch. So obviously the 4K Switch is coming, to be immediately followed the next day by Nintendo coming out and making an announcement saying like, nah, man, we already told you the only new Nintendo coming out is the OLED. There's nothing else.
Welcome to the internet. So Bayonetta, yep, big news.
Bayonetta, Nintendo, their online thing that you have to pay so you get online access, their version of Live, is adding an expansion pack, is what they're calling it. It's an additional subscription service, so it just adds, we don't know how much yet because they haven't announced how much.
Price, okay.
To your subscription for your yearly subscription, but it will include N64 and Sega Master Drive games that you get for free.
I'd say cool, but without knowing the price, I can't.
I know. That's the problem, is without knowing the price, I don't know. I know, because they're talking about Mario 64, Mario Kart 64, Star Fox 64, Ocarina of Time 64, Echo the Dolphin 64, Sonic the Hedgehog 2 64, and a bunch of others. But yeah, until I know the price, if it's an extra $5 a year, cool. If it's an extra $5 a month, I mean, it doesn't matter to me. I'm never going to play them anyway. But though they are also releasing Pro controllers that look like the original N64 controller and the original Sega Master System controller.
Okay, that's nice.
So you can get actual Bluetooth controllers.
Get your full classic experience.
Get the whole experience. Monster Hunter Rise, which was a huge game this year. I've heard multiple people talking about it for Game of the Year.
Oh, really?
Yes.
It won't get it. But
it won't, but I've heard people talking about it. I've also heard a lot of people saying that at the bare minimum, it will be the Switch Game of the Year. I don't think it'll get that either, but we'll see. But they're putting out a major paid expansion next year that's basically another game. With a whole bunch of additions and changes.
I've never played a Monster Hunter.
I haven't either. I know my daughter has. She doesn't have Rise. She's played the demo to Rise and she loves it. So it's on her birthday list, but she doesn't have it yet. But I know a lot of people who they play all the Monster Hunter games. It's a little grindy, I think. It always seemed like it was like a kind of grindy game.
Yeah.
Square Enix is kicking out a Final Fantasy themed Mario Kart game. So you can you get to do Chocobo GP. It's a racing game with Final Fantasy characters. There you go.
Work.
And we found out that they announced that they're going to announce the final Super Smash character. They'll announce it on Tuesday. It's the 5th. So we don't know who the final Super Smash character is.
No, and we couldn't delay this episode to tell.
Right. Also, we don't care. But here's the thing. If they're announcing the final Super Smash character, that means they're done with Super Smash, which means they're probably have already started development or about to start development of the follow-up Smash game.
Super Melee.
Super Melee Smash for 64.
I can't wait for everyone who's fans of the GameCube version to yet again refuse to move on.
Yeah. Well, that's my question is, do we see Main Stage Evo with 3 Smash games?
There was one year, I think, where they did have 3, and I think there was backlash to it. Yeah. And rightly so.
Because they had 2, and then they had the third game where people got to vote on the game, and people chose another Smash game.
It's good on them for having a loyal fan base, but bad on them for ruining it for the rest of us.
Here's the thing. I understand. I think Smash is a fun game. I really enjoy playing Smash. It, to me, is a lot like watching pinball. It's nowhere near as much fun. It's why I don't watch a lot of pinball streaming, because it's not fun. You watch it for a little while, and then you go do other things. So, we'll see. We'll see what happens. And then, I completely missed a whole section. Amazon launched New World.
Oh. I've been seeing jokes about this.
I've been reading a lot of stuff. It's very mixed. There's a lot of things people love about it. I've heard a lot of good things about the audio and the graphics, and the actual gameplay and the combat stuff is all very good.
Okay.
At the same time, I've heard all of the quests and the storylines and everything is super grindy, super repetitive, and very much what you expected out of an MMO that would have come out in like 10. So it is not up to the current level of where most games have gone. There's lots of repetitive fetch quests. So it's very much a FedEx simulator.
I mean, that was back when I was doing MMOs. I mean, that was the thing.
Mm-hmm.
And
let's see, that's the thing, because with me playing Final Fantasy XIV, it's not like that at all, which is just such a difference from what, like, original Warcraft.
Right.
So we'll see. Part of the problem is that they're having huge queue times. Which, brand new game, super popular, MMO, they weren't set up for it. That's understandable. I'm not going to ding them for that. If that did not happen, considering they launch and they're hitting like 800,000 concurrent players, I would have been in shock. What's interesting is they cap every server at like 2,000 players.
Oh. Okay. Like concurrent or just
period.
Okay, wow.
So they've got each individual server population is very low.
Yes, that's really small.
And which could be problematic when you want to do stuff like play with your friends.
Yeah, I mean, because it sounds like the server would fill up right away.
Right.
And so you'd have to transfer to a new server and maybe keep transferring if you had new people coming along every few months that you wanted to play. Okay. Yeah. That doesn't sound like, I mean, unless they've made the transfer process simple.
Right. Or if they've made it so that there's everything is, I don't know, maybe they made it so everything is instanced. I'm not sure. So it's weird. I've not played it myself. But we will see how it goes. It seems like they've got a solid foundation that they can hopefully build from and learn from the mistakes other companies made 15 years ago and, make the game more matching what people are expecting from an MMO at this day and age.
Well, at least we got through the show without any Activision stuff.
Wouldn't that have been nice?
Oh.
I thought we were going to.
No, you didn't.
I did.
You didn't. No, you did not.
I totally thought we were.
You would never be free. No.
Up until, the other day. Since we can't go an episode without talking about them. Activision Blizzard has settled with the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, which is what has been investigating them on the federal level.
Right.
I don't even know if we announced this in the last episode. I think the announcement of this investigation came after our last episode. It's already been settled.
Okay.
So what they did was they settled. They have to make a bunch of changes with documentation and, training and stuff. But part of their settlement is they have to put together, or they have to pay $18 million to create a fund for those who have experienced sexual harassment, pregnancy discrimination, and or related retaliation or constructive discharge to the EEOC to set up for their employees to apply for, and then the EEOC will hand out relief awards based upon their investigations of each case and everything. Here's the thing. $18 million for Activision Blizzard is a rounding error. That's not a fine. It's literally 0.002% of their revenue from last year.
Well, is the 18 million meant to be a penalty fee, or is it just what they estimated as would be necessary to adequately fund this?
I'm assuming it's what they estimate would be required to adequately fund the thing.
Because because if the goal was, we're fining you as a punitive measure, then this is a joke. If it's no, you need to set up a fund to pay for all the people you've wronged, I could see 18 million being estimated as being reasonable.
It's harsh because the Bobby Kotick's pay package that they approved back in June, it's literally 11% of his.
Well, he does make pretty good money. Almost LuLaRoe great.
Almost. It's just, yeah. We'll see how it goes. This does not stop the SEC investigation. This doesn't stop California's suit or the lawsuit that was brought up by the employees themselves. Okay. So, I think, the most interesting thing we'll see is as those start working their way through the system more is how the shareholders respond to Bobby next year when his stuff comes up again.
Yeah, we'll have to see, but unless the stock takes a big tank.
Yeah, I don't think anything's going to happen.
And I think he's been positioning himself to not come across like he is the bad guy in the scenario.
Right.
He's gone and fixed some of the prior statements. So I think he's, as much as I'm not a fan of him, I think he's been positioning himself well to keep his job.
Yeah.
So I don't expect a change at that level. But
we'll see what happens.
We will have to wait and see. And speaking of waiting and seeing, people will have to wait a couple of weeks until they can not see, but hear our next episode of the Eclectic Gamers Podcast. But if you have things you want to reach out about or suggestions on topics for us to cover, you can always email us eclecticgamerspodcast@gmail.com or go to facebook.com/eclecticgamerspodcast and shoot us a message.
We're available on Twitch, Twitter, and Instagram as eclectic_gamers.
And that's it. We'll be back in a couple of weeks. And maybe that time, Tony will almost super duper promise no Activision. Maybe. Probably not.
It's going to have to be big because I'm tired of talking about.
He's so tired. You don't understand how tired
he is. Tired.
I'm
so tired.
So tired. But until that episode airs, I'm Dennis.
I'm Tony.
Goodbye, everybody.
See ya.